When I first watched Vinland Saga, I thought I knew what I was getting into. A violent, stylish anime about Vikings, raids, and revenge. The battles were brutal, the duels gripping, and young Thorfinn seemed like the kind of character you're supposed to cheer for. At the start, he was innocent, guided by his father's honor, someone you expected would grow into a hero. But then, little by little, he lost himself. He didn't become admirable, he became consumed. A boy turned into a blade, with only one mode: kill Askeladd. And honestly, it was frustrating. Thorfinn wasn't cool the way I expected. He wasn't noble. He wasn't even likable. He was hollow, bloodthirsty, and one-sided. Season 1 put us through that on purpose, because if you felt that emptiness in him, if you felt the exhaustion of watching him chase vengeance without joy, then Season 2 hits harder. Suddenly, the violence that once felt thrilling becomes disgusting. The person who once seemed like a tragic anti-hero now feels pathetic. You don't want to be him, you don't even want to watch him. That's the brilliance of the story. It sets you up to think this is about revenge and glory, but then it holds up a mirror. It asks what happens when your whole identity is built on something destructive. What happens when who you are is the worst possible version of yourself.
Before we can fully appreciate the transformation of Thorfinn, we need to sit with where he was in Season 1. Thorfinn begins as a wide-eyed boy in Iceland, shaped by the honor and strength of his father Thor's. Thor's taught that a true warrior doesn't need a sword, and he tried to model protection without cruelty. But when Thor's is killed, Thorfinn takes his father's words and throws them aside. He sneaks aboard Askeladd's ship, vowing revenge, and that vow becomes his entire identity. Throughout the rest of Season 1, he's locked in a cycle of rage. He raids villages, kills mercilessly, and hurls himself into duel after duel, just for another chance to face Askeladd. He has no other relationships, no sense of humor, no warmth. He is a one-dimensional character by design, consumed by vengeance, empty of joy. Watching him becomes exhausting. We want him to be a hero, but instead he's a shadow of one, a living reminder of how hate hollows us out, and that hollowness is the stage for what comes next. Thorfinn's story isn't about embracing who he was. It's about tearing that version of himself down. To see why, we need to slow down and really take in what the story shows us. On the farm, Thorfinn is barely recognizable from the boy we knew in Season 1. He works fields in silence, scarred and empty, barely responding to insults or even physical harm. He has been stripped of everything: his family, his freedom, his vengeance. And in that emptiness, we begin to see just how hollow he has become. The violence that once defined him now leaves him only nightmares. Night after night, he wakes in terror, haunted by memories of the faces he cut down. The most haunting moment comes in his dream. Thorfinn, in his dream, first lashes out violently, killing a boy. When he looks down, the body in his arm shifts. It is no stranger, but his companion Einar. The horror overtakes him as he realizes what his hands are capable of. In that moment, his father appears. Thor's does not come as the comforting figure of memory, but as a heavy presence, carrying sorrow and judgment. Thor's looks at him while Thorfinn clutches the boy's body. His words fall like stone. You were only supposed to protect yourself. Your strength was only meant to keep you safe. I have failed you, Thorfinn. I have so many things to tell you, even more to teach you, to prepare you for the war. Thorfinn pleads through sobs that it isn't his father's fault, that he alone is to blame for his murder and the bloodlust that haunts him. Thor's leaves him with one final truth. You have no enemies, my son. No one does. All we have are people. And then the corpses swarm again. The dead seize his father and drag him down into the earth, into hell itself. The terror of the realization grips Thorfinn. The truth that every face he sees, every grasping hand, belongs to someone who didn't want to die. He screams out in desperation, "All of you. I don't know your faces or your names or when I took your life, but I'm sure none of you wanted to die. I'm so sorry." His sobs echo in the darkness as the dead drag him down further. Askeladd emerges in the chaos, not mocking him but encouraging him to resist. Fight to become something better than a monster, a true warrior. And at the top of that pit, through the chaos, this moment stretches, giving us time to feel the weight of both choices. Stay with the dead or climb toward life. This scene is not just spectacle. It is the hinge of Thorfinn's entire arc. For the first time, he admits to himself what he has become. Not a noble avenger, not a soldier bound by honor or duty, but a butcher. And the only way forward is to reject that identity completely. From this dream onward, every choice Thorfinn makes is transformed. He doesn't simply declare, "I'll never hurt anyone again." He truly means it. He wakes with tears in his eye, grief spilling out for the first time. This oath is not weakness, but strength. The rejection of the monster he once was, and the first spark of renewal. His vow to abandon violence may be misguided. We know that force is sometimes necessary to protect others, but it marks the beginning of his redemption. Later, when Canute's army looms, Thorfinn steps onto the battlefield with no weapon. He takes punch after punch from Drought, refusing to fight back, insisting on peace. Each blow, then, is a reminder of who he used to be, but he endures it to prove who he is becoming. This is not a single turning point. It is a long, slow rebuilding of a soul that was shattered. And that's what makes the farm arc so powerful. It refuses to let change be quick or easy. It forces us to watch as Thorfinn chooses again and again to reject the old self and reach for the new. His redemption doesn't come from a single scene. It comes from the gradual, stubborn decision to change, piece by piece.
That's what struck me most. Redemption isn't about peace with who you are, it's about changing who you are. Growing up, I had to learn that not everything about myself deserved acceptance. Some of it needed to be changed. As a kid, I thought people disliked me because they were mean. But often it was because my personality was centered around me, not on benefiting others. I had to realize that my starting point wasn't my destination. Like Thorfinn, I had to reject certain parts of myself to become someone worth following. This is what makes Vinland Saga unique. It tells us that who we are now is not who you're meant to be. Embracing your worst traits, your bitterness, your emptiness, that's not noble. That's a death sentence. Change is the only way forward. The Greek idea of polis, a community with shared purpose, fits here. A polis could thrive, or it could collapse under revenge, greed, pity, or loneliness. We are the same. Our inner lives are like small city-states, fragile and shaped by what we would build inside them. If the foundation is hatred, the city falls. But if we choose to rebuild, if we tear down what's rotten and lay new stones, we create something others can rely on. That's why I try to shape my circles into places of growth. It's not easy. It requires constant change on my part, because if I don't, I become part of the problem. Thor's was that kind of foundation for his people. And Thorfinn, by rejecting who he was, begins to become that kind of foundation for others. There are parts of who you are that are wrong. Not misunderstood, not quirky, not harmless. Just plain wrong. And you know it. You've seen it in the way you treat people, the grudges you carry, the selfishness that eats at your relationships. These aren't things to embrace. They are poison. And if you keep them, they will drag you down like the corpses in Thorfinn's nightmare. Don't settle for who you are. You need to start there, yes. But then cut away the rot. Change. Tear down the parts of you that are choking your life and rebuild something better. Not just for yourself, but for the people who depend upon you. Be the kind of person others can build around. Be the foundation of your own polis. Just like a city needs steady walls and strong pillars, your circle needs you to be strong. Not consumed by bitterness or revenge. Change isn't instant, it's stone by stone, field by field, choice by choice, tears by tears. Thorfinn didn't find redemption by making peace with the monster he had become. He found it by killing that version of himself and forging something new. He chose the harder road, the slower road, the one that demanded blood, sweat, and grief and rebuilding. That's the same road before you. Stop excusing the broken parts of yourself. Stop explaining them away. They are not who you are meant to be. Step toward the version that can carry others, inspire others, and rebuild something worth living in. Thorfinn's story shows that redemption is possible, even from the darkest starting point. And like him, you must change. If you don't, the pit of your past will both haunt and consume you. But if you do change, if you do the hard work of cultivating a life of virtue and not vice, the world around you can likewise be enriched.